A large storm is rapidly developing in the United States, and it's about to kick off an active stretch of weather that includes a risk of severe storms, an elevated flooding risk, a winter heat wave, and multiple chances of heavy snow next week. Our first storm begins today, and as it tracks to the east, it will collide with a sharp temperature contrast across the central and southern United States. This setup will support severe weather Friday through Sunday with damaging winds, large hail, and a few tornadoes possible. At the same time, a winter heat wave is building across the central United States with unusually warm air surging north. That warmth will enhance the sharp temperature boundary in place, fueling additional storm development next week. And this pattern is far from over, as a major snowstorm is expected across the western United States next week. And as that system moves east of the Rockies, it should trigger multiple additional storms, including multiple shots of heavy snow. So, in today's update, I'm going to break down exactly what you need to know about these large storms that'll be impacting the United States. Now, we have a lot to talk about in today's update, and I want to jump right into these large storms that'll be impacting the United States over the next 7 days. And right now, we have a lot of moisture that is coming out of the Pacific Ocean and also out of the Gulf. And this is all going to meet in one place over the next 24 hours, and that is back over in the south central United States. So once we go into Friday and Saturday, we are going to have this large plume of moisture that is going to be all across the southern plains. And this is going to lead to a possibly significant severe weather risk, which will begin tomorrow near Midland, Texas, and then go all the way into East Texas, Louisiana, eventually into Mississippi, Tennessee, and Alabama by late Saturday, and into early Sunday, where damaging winds, hail, and possibly even tornadoes is going to be a concern with this storm system. Now, on the backside of the low pressure system, we will have some dry and cool air that'll filter this storm system out. But one other thing I want to point out is that this storm is going to have so much moisture that we are going to be dealing with days of rainfall from Oklahoma and Texas all the way into Carolinas. And if this storm takes the right track, we could even see some snowfall across parts of the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast once we go into Sunday and early Monday. So, this is not necessarily just going to be a large rain and severe weather event. There might be some snow with this. It's not for certain as of right now. Models have been kind of back and forth over the last couple of days, but we'll be keeping an eye on that. We'll talk more about that here in a moment. Now, we're not done after this. We have a lot more storms to come because by next week, we are going to be dealing with a pretty significant atmospheric river event, which is basically going to fuel a lot of moisture over the Rockies and then back into the central United States. And notice this entire area of moisture by Tuesday morning, stretching from California into Michigan. And this is where we're going to be watching for several storms to set up. And we could easily see more severe weather, more snowfall, and a lot of other impacts. So, we are going to be talking all about this over the next few minutes, but get ready. The weather pattern is going to get very active here over the next 10 days. Now, there will be multiple storms that impact the country over the next 10 days. And the first one arrives tomorrow into Saturday. So, we'll have a lot of moisture coming out of the Pacific as we alluded to, and then some moisture coming out of the Gulf. And a large area of showers and even snow showers will develop over the Rockies by tomorrow afternoon. And this will eventually turn into a storm system that is going to grow in size rapidly. So by Saturday morning, we will have widespread rainfall from Springfield and Joplin, Missouri, back towards Dallas-Fort Worth, and even towards Abilene, where this is going to cause the threat of even some localized flooding. And a lot of these areas have really not seen a whole lot of rain over the last month or two. So this is pretty good news in terms of rainfall, but obviously there will be a flooding risk accompanied with this. Another concern I have is as we go into Saturday afternoon and evening, the storm is going to become a lot more organized and we're going to have a lot more moisture coming out of the Gulf. So temperatures and as well as dew points will be increasing, and at the same time, wind shear will be increasing. So our southwesterly flow and our low levels will be starting to ramp up. And all of this motion that we're going to have is eventually going to lead to the possibility of severe weather, including a risk of tornadoes. I think our main concern for Saturday will be mostly stretching from Dallas-Fort Worth back into Louisiana, even Little Rock, Arkansas, and into Mississippi. Could see some severe storms late Saturday and into early Sunday. And to give you a better idea of the timing of severe weather, this is what it's going to look like by Friday evening. We'll have some storms firing off across West Texas. The main concern will be large hail, as most of these storms are going to be elevated in nature, and we need surface-based storms for there to be tornadoes. Generally speaking, it is going to be a little bit too dry out here in West Texas for there to be much of a legitimate risk of tornadoes on Friday. Wouldn't rule out an isolated one, but the odds are pretty low. By Saturday morning, we're dealing with widespread rainfall all across the central and southern plains, anywhere from about St. Louis back in Oklahoma City and the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Severe weather won't really be a concern until the mid to late afternoon and early evening. Some storms will begin to form from Dallas back towards Abilene and even near San Angelo. These will be mostly hail and wine producers. There might be a brief tornado risk out of one of those storms. But I think our greater tornado risk will be during the very late afternoon and evening, as we will eventually see a line of thunderstorms developing almost a squall line that'll stretch from South Texas into western Oklahoma, just the south there of Fort Smith. Main concern, it looks like for right now, will be damaging winds. But if we do end up getting any sort of prefrontal supercells out in front of the line of thunderstorms, I definitely wouldn't rule out a more localized and possibly significant tornado risk during the evening hours on Saturday, and then eventually overnight Saturday into early Sunday. This line of storms will continue to push to the east into Mississippi and over towards New Orleans, where a damaging wind risk and even embedded tornadoes in the line could still be a concern. Now, let's go back to the broad overview. So, Saturday, we'll be talking about a lot of rain in the south-central United States. Early Sunday, this storm will make its way into the Tennessee Valley and the Dixie Alley, where heavy rain will continue. Localized flooding risk will continue as well. Some of these areas, like Little Rock and back towards Nashville, could see several inches of rain. We're talking maybe 2 to 4 inches, and some localized areas around 5 or 6 inches of rain being on the table over the next few days. Late Sunday is where things could get a little bit more interesting when it comes to our wintry precipitation, because we'll have a large area of rain ongoing in the southeast. But on the north side of the storm system, it might just get cold enough to the point where we could have some snow back over in parts of the mid-Atlantic and the northeast. This is not a slam dunk by any means. And it's a very tricky to forecast, as the models have continued to go back and forth on showing a lot of snow, showing no snow. Now, the European model here is showing a very small area of snowfall in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, and as well as West Virginia. So my confidence right now in terms of there being a winter storm is very low. However, there is definitely some confidence that I have right now that we'll at least see some snowfall Sunday back over in parts of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Does not look to be anything blockbuster as of right now, but we'll definitely keep an eye on it. And then eventually into Monday, we'll have an Alberta clipper that'll try to get close to this storm system. So if it gets close enough, we might see some influence there for more snowfall. But for right now, looks to be a very low-end scenario. And then eventually, as we go into late Monday and Tuesday, we are talking about some major storm systems impacting the western United States. This does apply for those in the Great Plains and anywhere eastbound because these storms will eventually cross over the Rockies. So on Monday, we'll have a lot of snow falling in the higher elevations. And with how much moisture there's going to be, we could have a legit flooding risk from San Diego back towards Seattle during the daytime on Monday and Tuesday. This storm will continue into Tuesday, and then late Tuesday, early Wednesday is when that moisture should get over the Rockies, at least some of it, and it should create a new storm system, and that'll form back over in the northern United States. Models have been very consistent with there being some sort of storm this far to the north. One of the concerns that I have with this storm system isn't necessarily that we're going to probably see that much severe weather, but it has more to do with the temperatures. It's abnormally warm for this time of the year, even back over in the Dakotas. and it's going to get a lot warmer with a low pressure system this far to the north. It's going to allow for a significant pull of warm and moist air to make its way all the way up into Iowa, Nebraska, and back into Illinois. And these are areas that could have temperatures near the 70s by Tuesday of next week. So we are talking about record-breaking heat potential. And the snow would be very far off to the north as well. We're talking North Dakota, Minnesota, and Wisconsin possibly seeing some heavy snow during the middle of next week. Keep in mind that this is a very normal storm track for the month of October or even November. So this is very odd to see something like this time of the year. And then right behind this storm system, we will likely see more storm systems form due to the fact we're going to have so much moisture coming over the Rockies. So we should have another big storm sometime during the latter half of next week and into the weekend. So this will not be the only storm. We're talking about at least 3 or 4 different storm systems just over the next 10 days. So again, buckle up. It's going to get active very quickly. Now, with a large storm like this, we are going to be talking about a lot of rain. And this is what's happening over the weekend and into the beginning of next week. We are expecting a widespread 1 to 3 inches of rain from Lubbock, Texas into Nashville and even Johnson City, Tennessee. There will be plenty of areas that pick up around 2 to 4 inches of rain. That's primarily going to be around Joplin and Springfield back into Shreveport and also near Memphis. I wouldn't be surprised if we had some localized areas much closer to like 5 or 6 inches of rain when this event is all said and done, due to how much moisture is going to be across all of the southern United States this weekend. And great news for those out west, we are going to have a ton of snow over the next 7 to 10 days. This will mostly fall between Sunday and Tuesday, with feet of snow expected across the Sierra Nevada Cascades and the Rockies. If you're in the Sierra Nevada, we are expecting upwards of 80 to 120 inches of snow between now and next weekend. So, great news for skiers. Great news as well for the water reservoirs that definitely need the water with how little amount of snow that we've seen so far this winter. Now let me dive deeper into the atmospheric setup that's creating this incredibly active pattern. What we're seeing is a fundamental shift in the jet stream configuration that's allowing these Pacific storm systems to tap into both tropical moisture from the south and Arctic air from the north. This creates what meteorologists call a loaded pattern, where each successive storm has access to tremendous amounts of energy and moisture. The atmospheric river event that's setting up for next week is particularly noteworthy because it's forecast to maintain itself for several days, which is why we're seeing such extreme snowfall totals in the mountains. The temperature anomalies we're dealing with are truly extraordinary for mid-February. When we see temperatures potentially reaching the 70s as far north as Iowa and Nebraska, we're talking about departures from normal that could exceed 40 to 45 degrees above average. This isn't just warm for February, this is warm for April or even early May in some of these locations. The reason this matters so much for severe weather is that these extreme temperature contrasts create the kind of wind shear and instability that can support significant tornadoes and damaging winds. From a seasonal perspective, this pattern is reshaping what we typically expect for late winter. Usually by mid-February, we'd be seeing the storm track begin its gradual northward migration as we approach spring. Instead, we're seeing a pattern that looks more like early autumn, with strong southern branch energy and repeated opportunities for severe weather outbreaks. This has major implications not just for the immediate weather threats, but for long-term seasonal planning as well. The flooding concerns with this weekend's storm system extend beyond just the immediate rainfall totals. Many of the areas in the severe weather risk zone, particularly across Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, have been dealing with drought conditions for months. When you drop several inches of rain on hard, dry ground over a short period of time, you get rapid runoff that can create flash flooding even in areas that desperately need the moisture. Urban areas like Dallas-Fort Worth and Oklahoma City will be particularly vulnerable to this type of flooding scenario. Looking at the extended pattern beyond next week, there are strong signals that this active weather will continue well into the final week of February and possibly into early March. The combination of a very warm Pacific Ocean and a displaced polar vortex creates a setup that favors repeated storm development. We could be looking at a period where the central and eastern United States see storm systems on a near weekly basis, each bringing their own potential for severe weather, flooding, or winter weather depending on the track and timing. The agricultural implications of this pattern are also significant. The severe weather risks across the southern plains come at a time when winter wheat is in a critical development stage. Large hail and damaging winds could impact crops that are just beginning their spring growth phase. At the same time, the excessive rainfall could delay field preparation activities for spring planting in some areas, while providing much-needed moisture relief in others that have been dealing with drought conditions. For aviation and transportation, this active pattern presents ongoing challenges. The combination of severe thunderstorms, potential winter weather in the mid-Atlantic and Northeast, and flooding concerns across the South creates a complex forecast environment where travel disruptions could occur across multiple regions simultaneously. Major airport hubs like Dallas-Fort Worth, Atlanta, and Chicago could all see weather-related delays and cancellations over the next week. The snowfall forecast for the western United States deserves special attention because of just how significant these totals could be. When we're talking about 80 to 120 inches of snow in the Sierra Nevada over a 7 to 10 day period, we're discussing snowfall rates that could exceed 2 to 3 feet per day during the peak of the atmospheric river event. This kind of snowfall can create dangerous avalanche conditions in the backcountry and make mountain travel extremely hazardous. At the same time, it's exactly what the region needs from a water supply perspective, as many reservoirs are running well below normal levels. The energy sector will also be closely watching this pattern, particularly as it relates to both heating and cooling demands. The record warm temperatures across the central United States will reduce heating loads significantly, while the severe weather threats could impact power generation and transmission infrastructure. Wind energy production could see both benefits from the strong low-level jet associated with these storm systems, but also risks from potential severe weather damage to wind farms. Looking at historical analogs, this type of pattern is reminiscent of some of the most active late winter periods on record. When you have this combination of extreme temperature contrasts, abundant moisture, and a very active storm track, it often leads to memorable weather events that can have lasting impacts on local communities. The key for everyone in the affected areas will be staying weather aware and being prepared for rapidly changing conditions. As always, thank you all so much for watching today's update. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. Our next video should be tomorrow as we track these developing storm systems and provide updates on the severe weather outlook for the weekend. This is shaping up to be one of the most active weather patterns we've seen this winter, so stay tuned for all the latest developments and make sure you're subscribed for continuous coverage. We'll see you in the next one.